Today, we are fortunate to have an incredible lineup of speakers who bring different perspectives on these pressing issues. We will start with individual presentation followed by an open Q&A session. Each speaker will have 7 minutes for their presentation, so try to wrap up within the given time. And I would like to request our rapporteurs, Anurag and Shubhangi, they both are PhD scholars at Sarojini Naidu Centre for Women's Studies, to keep us on track by signaling when time is running out. Now I would like to invite our first speaker for this session, Janvi Gusalkar and Pratna Dixit. They both are Young India Fellows from
Rakshanda, you're not audible.
Hello.
Janvi?
Hello.
Janvi, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Great. Hi, everyone.
We're able to share the screen, right?
Yes. I'll just share the screen, but thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. And we'll be presenting on the topic of femtech as well as gendered surveillance. So Pratna would be taking it up first. Let me know if you can see the screen, please.
It's not visible yet.
Okay.
Can you go to the first slide?
Sure.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everybody. So me and Janvi are representing Young India Fellowship and Ashoka University at large. And we're going to be presenting about gender surveillance, the emergence of femtech, and its privacy implications in India. So we wrote this paper for this course called New Geography in the Information Age. This is our abstract. I do not want to delve too much into it, but basically with this paper, what we're trying to do is we're trying to investigate into femtech and its privacy implications, especially through the rise of period tracking apps such as Crew and Flow that are very popular in India. So we were first inspired by Donna Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto, where she says that with increasing technology, that technology will eventually shape our identity. And this is where the concept of datafied body projects also comes from, which is pointed out in the paper Datafied Body Projects in India by Mishra and Suresh in 2021. So it refers to this increasing use of digital technologies that is used to track, analyze the human body, health, and medicine. And these projects basically use data-driven approaches to shape and influence healthcare. And talking about femtech, it was coined in 2016, and it refers to the idea of providing women reproductive health care, which includes fertility, pregnancy, wellness, and chronic health issues. So while femtech does address the gaps that are there in medicine and healthcare at large when it comes to women, it also has concerns when it comes to privacy and surveillance, and it is also tricky for focusing too much on this idea called bikini medicine, which hyper focuses on the reproductive health of women. Talking about femtech in India, like I said earlier, period tracking apps such as Flow and True are very popular in India, and even apps such as Care Mother, SmartScope, and Maya, which are Indian apps themselves. And this really introduces the concept of digitization in healthcare, especially because it's very gendered. But digitization in healthcare is not just a new concept when it comes to India. It has occurred before through projects such as Janani Suraksha Yojana and Mother and Child Tracking System (MCCS), which links Aadhaar card to our reproductive data. Next slide, please. So now we're going to be talking, Janvi will be talking about Flow app as a case study and how it eventually takes into this approach of privacy and surveillance.
Yeah. Thank you, Pratna. So the reason that we are delving into Flow Health, which is a fertility tracking app, it helps you track your symptoms and sexual wellness, pregnancy, as well as menstrual cycle. And what did occur in 2021 was that the Federal Trade Commissions of the United States of America sort of sued Flow app for misleading its users for sharing improper data regulation policies, because apparently it was sharing data with third-party applications like Facebook, Google, AppsFlyer, and it used to show pregnancy data of users as an app event rather than sensitively handling sensitive health information like it claimed to on the data sharing policies. And the settlements that the FTC agreed upon was that Flow will just now inform users and seek their consent before sharing this data. So Flow does continue to work with these companies now itself, but it's just switched its mechanism. So instead of having Facebook Analytics as its data processing model that it used to before, it now has Amazon Web Services as its data processing model. But Amazon Web Services has a shared responsibility model, which means that while your physical infrastructure of the data systems stays safe with the AWS, the actual data networks, circuits, etc., still need to be regulated by the consumer, which is the app itself. And apart from that, it also shares non-health related data to AppsFlyer, which then shares it with third-party companies such as, again, Google Ads, Meta, companies that it was working with beforehand as well. And this is something that is continuing right now also. Even in India, when you upload something on Flow, chances are that the data is going to go to 30 different entities, and this data ranges from just an email ID to critical sensitive health related information as well.
This is just
Naturally, the
a
problem.
warning. You have to wrap up in
Sorry,
2 minutes.
I'm not sure if I could hear you. Sorry.
You have 2 minutes to wrap up your sorry.
So apart from that, it also shares its data with medical research practitioners as well as scientists. And this is de-identified data, but it raises concerns about how consent of actually using users' data is actually mandated, as well as the representativeness of this kind of research done, because irregular menstrual cycles are not something that it uses or tracks within itself.
I think we should quickly go to DPDPA and the comparison with PP.
Sure. We also had looked at the abortion and reproductive rights, which Pratna sort of shared with us earlier as well, that increasingly the data is being linked to digital platforms and data is being digitalized. Apart from that, when it comes to actual data processing of digital mediums, India does not really have a let's say regulation as such when it comes to just sensitive information processing. However, right now we are in works of enforcing the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which has not been enforced till the time that the paper was written. And this Data Protection Act does aim to protect the right of privacy of personal data, and it also wants to or claims to regulate personal data processing. However, it has not segregated between health-related or sensitive personal data and normal personal data, which is something that might get problematized in future, because when it comes to the other kind of global data protection rights, just such as the GDPR, these are the kinds of laws which do segregate between these kinds of data, simply because the kind of processing that is done on these data is completely different. And when it comes to the explicit consent that DPDPA does claim to take, it does not take it when it comes to the matters of state security or public health threat, which is something that is again broadly defined within the bounds of the DPDPA. Apart from that, there's no strict rules about cross-border processing of data. So let's say India the users from India sharing their data on apps like Flow, this kind of data might get shared with different kinds of data processing agencies that stay outside of India. However, they are not
Sorry, please
bound
wrap.
to comply to the regulations posed by DPDPA. And this is something that, again, takes us to the idea of surveillance. And the reason why we are tracking or tracing all of these ideas together is because when we think about regulation, there is also the need of agency. And agency is something that is getting sort of trampled upon by the existence of not taking explicit consent, or losing anonymity just because of linking of Aadhaar, or digitization and lack of sensitive data handling. And this is something that we wanted to sort of shed light upon as well. Pratna, would you like to add something?
We basically wanted to contrast how the laws in EU are much more comprehensive in comparison to India, especially when it comes to reproductive health and digitized reproductive health. So that's what we eventually wanted to show. And also the fact that because everything is linked to Aadhaar now, there is more concern when it comes to like the leaking of private data, and also the fact about accessibility, like not everyone can access digitalization. So it's also about access and what kind of women can have access to these services and what section of women cannot. So
Thank you so much, Rakshanda. We can move on to the next speaker. We'll take the questions together in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. That was an excellent talk, Janvi and Pratna. I would now like to invite Ayushi Dwivedi, PhD scholar from Lucknow University, to present a paper on breaking the binary, exploring gender disparities in STEM fields. Ayushi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Rakshanda, for the introduction, and thank you to everyone here at SNCWS for the opportunity to present my paper. So my name is Ayushi Dwivedi, and I'm a PhD scholar at the University of Lucknow in the Department of English and Modern European Languages. And I have a keen interest in digital humanities and its intersection with literature, which is why also I have taken up this topic. Now, when we talk about the gender disparities in STEM fields, particularly in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, we do see that the representation of women is very skewed. However, the decision one makes to engage in STEM fields is based on objective thinking and analytical skills. But now that we see AI coming into the picture, we do see that the technology sector and the gender disparities have been coming out in the public eye very openly. And there are many forums all across the world which have been addressing these disparities. So, of course, there have been a lot of global efforts which have been made to promote a certain level of diversity and inclusion, but we still see that women continue to be underrepresented in technical and research intensive areas. So my paper seeks to investigate these disparities, particularly focusing on the technology sector. I have done this by borrowing statistics from the reports of global organizations like UNESCO, UNDP, and ILO. I also establish and strengthen the argument by borrowing theoretical perspectives from cyber and techno-feminism respectively. Now, one of the reasons why the representation is less could be, of course, with our cultural biases, that we do have a preconceived notion that men are good in the technology sector, whereas women lack the kind of acumen which is needed. And this is a preconceived notion that exists all across the world, not just in India, or South Asian countries, but all across the world. There is this preconceived notion. And this also plays a major role in why the representation is less in STEM fields. Now, why women are not given equal opportunities is often ignored. There have been several government policies in India, especially like the Unnati scheme, Diksha scheme, which have focused on the equitable distribution of resources, but still the reality at the grassroots level remains very skewed. we do say that the representation is skewed, but we have certain examples of women who have excelled in the STEM fields, including Grace Hopper, who changed the face of computer programming with her revolutionary programming language, COBOL, often referred to as Amazing Grace. There are some other women as well, including Marie Curie, Shakuntala Devi, Dr. Indra Hinduja, Malika Srinivasan, Nandini Harinath, and Sudha Murthy. But as per the data shared by the National Science Foundation, women in STEM make up only 28% of the workforce in the science and engineering occupations. So this itself proves that the data is very less, and we do need diversity in this sector. Now, what is the problem of gender exactly that we are looking at in the era of digitalization? So, of course, we have moved away from the analogous technologies. We have moved to the revolutionary world of the internet. And in the beginning, when internet came, we thought that it would be the answer to all social problems. But definitely it did not happen. In fact, we have seen that with the advancement of artificial intelligence, the situation is becoming grimmer, with women leaving the workforce owing to the leaky pipeline problem, which refers to the progressive reduction in women's participation at the different stages of their career progression in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. In many instances, the gap is most prominent at the inventor level. So now, why this problem needs to be addressed? It needs to be addressed because artificial intelligence, all the chatbots that we are using, we should understand that they're not working on their own, right? So there is, of course, a code which is being fed to them. There's an algorithm which is being fed to them by the people who are making the codes. So if the backend team in these tech giants is not diverse enough or is not inclusive enough, there is a possibility that the codes itself will become very biased. And if we use these codes in the recruitment agencies, we will see that often women will only be chosen for a select few roles, whereas the top level roles in the technology sector or in the STEM sector will be reserved for men especially. So that is why we need to address this gap. Now, as per the UNICEF's report on bridging the gender digital divide, the statistics are no less than a shock to those who feel that artificial intelligence is the solution to all the problems. So I'll quote, among 54 countries and territories analyzed, only 8 have achieved gender parity in internet use among youth. 41 countries and territories show marked disparities against adolescent girls and young women, while only 5 demonstrate disparities against teenage boys and young men. The median gender parity ratio is only 71, highlighting a pervasive gender gap in internet usage. For every 100 teenage boys and young men who use the internet, only 71 adolescent girls and young women do. So there is a clear divide. There is a clear divide in terms of how resources are available and how many resources are actually reaching the people.
Ayushi, please conclude within 2 minutes.
Yes, I'll just conclude. So now, of course, we do need to question this absence by implementing and seeing these policies are carried to the grassroots level. Now, coming to my theoretical aspect, of course, we have cyber feminism, which comes from Haraway, who says that cyborg should be used as a gender neutral entity, not as something which even creates more biases. And the same thought has been carried forward by Sadie Plant, who says that we should use internet as a tool to actually disrupt these boundaries and not continue with these boundaries. Now, just highlighting some solutions which I thought could be helpful. So so artificial intelligence chatbots and models can be employed to track the enrollment ratios both in the education sector and in the job sector to highlight the disparity. AI has also helped platforms like Coursera, edX, and other LMS systems to identify the gap between the enrollment ratio of men and women and also the biases in the course material, thereby facilitating the educators to make the material more inclusive. And many social media platforms as well are helping women to get better roles in the STEM field. But we do need that the tech companies especially, make teams and ensure that the participation of women, and not just women, people from all the marginalized communities, is as much as the men do. So this was my paper, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ayushi. We truly appreciate your presentation. The way you presented your perspective on gender disparities in STEM field, particularly in the technology sector, and the systematic barrier that hinder women's and non-binary individuals' participation is very insightful. I would like to ask Sonalika Kaushal, are you present? Sonalika, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm present.
So I would like to invite Sonalika to present her paper on gender discrimination with female athletes on digital platforms.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Rakshanda, for introducing me. I'm Sonalika Kaushal, and I work as an assistant professor of English at Government Mohindra College, Patiala. The title of my paper is Gender Discrimination of Female Athletes on Digital Platforms. I'm a sports person myself, so this research paper is very close to my heart. And this paper, it examines the gendered algorithms and digital hierarchies which are embedded into the digital platforms in the case of women's sports, and how female athletes are particularly discriminated against through various digital means. This is also an attempt to talk about the gender inequalities that artificial intelligence amplifies in case of female athletes, highlighting the urgent need to ensure the protection and fair engagement of female sportspersons on all the digital platforms. As we all know that the most revolutionary innovation of this century is the technology of artificial intelligence, which has hugely transformed our societal structure. The applications of AI in sports play a pivotal role in the sports industry, and it has openly embraced AI because of its many applications in the various aspects of sports, including training, refereeing, predicting, and recovering from injuries as well. The digital era has definitely changed the way the sports are played, experienced, and marketed. And the social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram, along with digital marketing algorithms, they play a significant role in increasing the reach of sports persons and help them in securing the brand partnerships. Sports has been considered a masculine realm for a very long time, and many sports disciplines they were counted appropriate for males. However, when we talk about females, they had to fight a lot to gain recognition and also to gain appropriate means to enter sports. If we take the case of Africa, their female athletes, they have faced multiple challenges in accessing the sports training and funding. And similarly, in the Middle East and some countries in the South Asia, cultural norms have definitely restricted women's visibility in sports due to the conservative beliefs. And when we talk about the digital reach, uh, algorithmic bias, they are very common nowadays. And these algorithmic biases can occur when discriminatory or prejudiced data is encoded in the machine learning systems, which can consequently create inaccurate or skewed data results. It has been noted that data sets which are utilized to train these have shown as compared to their male counterparts. And the technology is core foundation for creating the AI images, and definitely generates images based on the data that is incorporated in its training model. As per an online report of The Guardian, the AI tools analyze the pictures of women who were working out, and these technologies have rated the women working out as sexually suggestive. Furthermore, if we talk about the representation of female athletes in digital media, they have definitely faced marginalization and distortion by traditional gender norms for a considerable time period. There have been instances where female athletes are often portrayed through a lens of objectification with emphasis on their appearance rather than their athletic abilities and achievements. And women are more likely to face sexual harassment and cyber stalking in sports, which has definitely impacted them on not only a physical level but also on a mental as well as emotional level. One of the most common stereotypes is that women are weaker and less athletic than the men. This perception is not only erroneous, but it also disregards the unique attributes and talents of female athletes. Due to the open access to digital platforms with anonymous profiles, female sportspersons become a soft target of hate comments as well as sexist remarks. This gender based violence in the form of aggressive comments either shows hatred and animosity towards female athletes, and it also merely reduces them to the objects of sexual desire. As per a study of World Athletics on online abuse, 87% of female athletes were targeted during the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. If we talk about the impact on female athlete representation, female athletes in the global south often face significant structural inequalities such as lower pay, fewer sponsorships, and a lack of investment in women's sports programs. In many nations of global south, women's participation in sports is still seen as less legitimate, and female sportspersons often fight against many stereotypes. They are subjected to sexualization and objectification, and even when they stand out in their respective sports, their achievements are overshadowed by emphasis on their clothing, appearance, or gender expectation. The algorithm and engagement model, they also tend to favor the content that triggers strong emotional response, including those that objectify female athletes. Furthermore, uh, the posts which feature female athletes in inappropriate or sexualized contents, they are likely to go viral, which distorts the narrative around their athletic abilities. The gender gaps are further perpetuated by platforms which prioritize sports content that is male dominated. Misogynistic comments, body shaming, and discrimination against women are common phenomena in traditional as well as digital media. And these structural gender inequalities still exist in how sports are broadcast and consumed by our society. As the outcomes of gender discrimination in sports career, digital media in global
Please
south.
wrap up in 2 minutes, Sonalika.
Okay, ma'am. It mirrors the traditional media landscape where women's sports receive less media coverage as compared to men's sports. Fewer sponsorships, lower pay for female athletes is another way of discrimination against these women. If I conclude, I believe that there is a need to address this gender discrimination on digital platforms, and it definitely requires systematic change and a shift in societal attitude towards women in sports. Digital platforms should implement more transparent and equitable algorithms that prioritize gender neutral content ranking. Additionally, social media platforms should work on improving their digital tools to detect and prevent gender harassment and discrimination. Furthermore, I also believe that a multifaceted approach is required, including reforms in AI technologies and applications with stricter regulation on digital platforms. And there's a critical need to take responsibility for creating a safer and more inclusive digital space for female in sports and for our female athletes. Thank you so much. This was my paper, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for that enlightening presentation, Sonalika. Your work on how AI algorithm, data training methods, and digital platform structures contribute to the underrepresentation, marginalization, and bias against women in sports is both timely and deeply relevant to our discussion today. Now I would like to invite Gurvinder Kaur. Gurvinder Kaur is here. Okay, so moving on to the next presenter, Namya Gunvardhana.
Gurvinder.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I am present here.
Okay, Gurvinder.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Gurvinder Kaur from Chandigarh University is going to present a paper on digital financial literacy, understanding of digital payment modes among rural women in Punjab.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today's my presentation paper is on digital financial literacy, understanding of digital payment modes among rural women in Punjab. In this study, I want to assess the level of understanding of digital financial literacy among rural women in Punjab. And second objective is my study to identify the factor influencing the adoption of digital payment modes by rural women, and to analyze the barrier and challenge faced by rural women in using digital financial service. The global digital payments market compromise the electronic exchange of many money and financial transaction facilitated through digital platform and channels. On November 2016, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that.
Gurvinder, sorry to interrupt. Can you please turn on your camera?
Sorry, ma'am. There is a network unstable, so I cannot I'm trying it.
Okay. Continue, Gurvinder.
On November 2016, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the demonetization policy, declaring that 500 and 1,000 currency notes would no longer be considered legal tenders. Paytm, India's largest digital payments company, has capitalized on demonetization initiative to launch its service in rural India. Status of digital payment financial system in Punjab. Digital financial literacy in Punjab has witnessed gradual progress. Government initiatives such as Digital India Pradhan Mantri and Jantan Yojana and financial other programs. Punjab's banking sector has taken significant steps to enhance digital financial literacy and promote digital payment adoption, uh, uh, especially among rural undeserved communities. The Gram Sampark Abhiyan, launched by Punjab National Bank in 2020, emphasized awareness of digital payment platform, credit accessibility, and social security schemes. Rural women hesitant to use digital payment platforms such as UPI, mobile wallets, and internet banking, often due to fear of fraud and other technical barriers. Literature review, several studies highlight the barrier to the adoption of digital financial service among rural women in Punjab, and a lack of awareness and education prevents many rural women from effectively using digital payment service. And my research methodology is based on focus group discussion. And now I come to the next point, findings. Financial literacy encompasses three main categories: basic financial knowledge, financial skills, competency, and financial awareness. Digital transformation and technology are essential and important, enhancing individual lives, shaping how people learn and communicate and think. Women face lower opportunity for adopting digital financial service due to their limited access to wages from formal employment. A focus group discussion conducted in selected rural areas of Georgia, Punjab, highlights the education barrier faced by uh, rural women, particular their limited proficiency in English, as many have only received formal education in their native language, and this linguistic barrier hampers their ability to uh, navigate navigate digital payment platform, leading to a greater and reliance on traditional bank transaction. This finding underscores the need for targeted digital literacy programs and enhanced security measures to promote adoption of digital financial service. And another significant concern is trust and security issue, as fear of fraud and unauthorized transaction. Now I come to the conclusion. There is a several barriers were identified, including limited access, digital infrastructure, trust, security concern, poor connectivity, and financial dependency on male family member. These financial institution and policymaker must focus on implementation program to secure the digital transaction and framework, and implement the awareness program among the rural women in the Punjab. Thank you so much. My presentation is over here.
Thank you. Thank you, Gurvinder. Now I would like to invite Namya Gunwardhana to present the paper, The Ripple Effect of US Gender Policies, how transphobia in the global north shapes online expression and mental health in the global south.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Namya, you are audible.
Did she leave the meeting?
Namya, are you there?
We can move on to the next speaker, maybe till then.
Okay. So now I would like to invite Chavi Dua to present a paper, The Evolution and Global Impact of Thai Boys Love, BL Media, Navigating Representation, Commercialization and LGBTQIA plus Advocacy. Chavi, are you with us? Chavi or Namya, anybody?
Excuse me, am I audible?
Yeah.
Sorry, the thing is that the host did not allow me to switch on my mic, so I couldn't speak at that time.
Okay, so are you ready to present now?
Yes, I'm here. Am I visible?
Yeah, you are visible.
Uh, Welcome everybody. Good afternoon. Today I'll discuss the evolution and global impact of Thai boys' love, media, representation, commercialization, and LGBTQIA advocacy. This research explores how Thai BL media has evolved, the role it plays in LGBTQIA plus representation, and how commercialization has shaped its current state. To give a little bit background, BL or Boys Love originally originated from Japanese yaoi and first gained attention in Thailand with Love of Siam in 2007. Despite the backlash, it paved the way for future series like Sotus in 2016 and Together in 2020, which in turn played a crucial role in making BL a mainstream genre. With the rise of streaming platforms, especially during COVID-19 pandemic, BL content reached a global audience, increasing the visibility of Thai media and LGBTQI narratives. To analyze Thai BL, this research applies Judith Butler's theory of performativity, which suggests that gender and sexuality are not fixed but constructed through repeated actions. One of the main problems that this paper discusses is commercialization and mass production. The major finding of this study is increasing commercialization of BL media since 2022. Since 2022, the production houses have been mass producing BL to meet the growing demand. While this has led to global recognition, it has also resulted in sto- uh, decline of storytelling quality. Survey data shows that 34.5% of respondents strongly agree that the recent BL series prioritize quantity over quality, and many feel that explicit content has taken precedence over meaningful representation. The second perspective we talk about is heteronormativity in BL. The issue being, despite being marketed as LGBTQI content, many BL series follow heteronormative structures. Relationships often conform to traditional male-female dynamics, with one character portrayed as Seem and the other as Yug, which try to define their role in relationship as submissive or dominant. While some newer series like Bad Buddy in 2021 challenge these conventions, many still reinforce problematic gender norms. Survey finding indicates that over 56% of respondents feel BL media does not fully represent diversity of the LGBTQIA plus community. The next thing I want to talk about is the toxic fan culture. A significant challenge faced by beer industry is the toxic fan culture. Fans often form deep attachment to on-screen couples and resist any change in actor pairings. This has led to situations where actors face harassments or threats when cast in new roles. For example, actors like Om Pawat have experienced backlash from fans who disapprove their new co-stars, and actors like Bright Vachiravit have faced backlash for having female partners or a girlfriend in recent times. The survey data reflects that with 30% of respondents strongly agreeing that actors are prioritized over storytelling quality. This pressure on production houses often results in repetitive narratives focused on fan service rather than exploring diverse LGBTQIA experiences. Despite this issue, Thai BL has had a positive impact on queer visibility and representation. The global success of series like Sotus and Kinposh have contributed to Thailand's soft power. The same way K-pop and yoga have been great representation of Korea, South Korea, and India. Uh, Shaping how international audience perceives Thai culture. Furthermore, it has influenced real-world LGBTQIA advocacy, including discussions around legalizing same-sex marriage in Thailand. However, the increasing commercialization of Thai BL streams threatens its potential to serve as a tool for genuine activism. To conclude my representation, uh, I'd like to add that Thai BL has made a significant progress in LGBTQIA representation, but it also faces challenges. The shift towards mass production and explicit content has overshadowed the quality storytelling, and many series still cater to a heteronormative audience. Additionally, toxic fan culture continues to shape the industry decisions, often to detriment of actors and narrative depth. Moving forward, it is essential that BL production balance commercial success with authentic storytelling. There needs to be greater LGBTQIA inclusivity, moving beyond just gay male relationships to include a wider spectrum of identities. Lastly, production companies must focus on quality over quantity, ensuring that BL media remains both impactful and representative of the communities it portrays. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chavi, for your thought-provoking presentation on how Thai BL media has contributed to LGBTQIA plus visibility and social acceptance, while also critically examining the shift towards commercialization and heteronormative storytelling. Jamia, are you with us?
Yes, I'm sorry. I earlier I got disconnected. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so my presentation is going to be on the ripple effect of US gender policies. As we know, there have been a change in a shift in the perspective of gender policies in the US with the new administration. And that has not only affected the North, but also the global South. So if I discuss a little bit about the background of my research, because of the digital platforms nowadays, the global North and the global South are not like two separate things. It's all interconnected, and because of this, the political influence and the social influence of the global North is clearly felt on the global South. And when we take the transgender community as well as any marginalized, sexually marginalized community, such as the LGBTQI community, they use online spaces more than their counterpart cisgender population to actually find meaningful communication and connection in online spaces, purely because of the discrimination that they usually face in offline spaces. So when this population is now being harassed in online spaces, it's kind of a double victimization. So therefore, it's important to study how online expression has been changed because of the US gender policies, and also what are the psychological impacts of such online transphobia on the transgender people in Sri Lanka. So basically, that's was my research problem, and I researched this under three objectives. Firstly, it's to explore the impact of US gender policy modifications on online transphobia in Sri Lanka. And the second is to examine the psychological impacts of online transphobia on the transgender activists in Sri Lanka. And finally, to investigate their coping mechanisms and to see how they adopt to this online transphobia. So the research method was a qualitative approach, and I took a sample of 5 Sri Lankan transgender activists actually, and using the snowball technique, because some of these some of the participants of this study do not openly say that they're transgender individuals. Therefore, I had to use the snowball technique to actually get to these transgender activists. And a semi-structured interview of approximately 1 hour was used as the data collection method, and a thematic analysis was done thereafter. So basically, I will focus on the findings of my study during this presentation more than anything else, because I believe the findings are the most important thing of this study. So there are the findings have been categorized into 3 sections. Firstly, to see the amplification of online transphobia. Then secondly, the psychological impacts. And thirdly, the coping mechanism. So when we check the amplification of transphobia in online spaces, the participants shared things that they actually experienced, that transphobic comments have now been said, things like that, this is panicky, or finally someone is doing the right thing to the Trump administration and actually endorsing what they are doing to the transgender and gender minority community. So that kind of indicated that normalization of anti-trans rhetoric in the online spaces. And also a lot of participants observed in online spaces that it is not only the transgender community or the gender minority that is being attacked in online spaces, but also activists and allies of these minority genders are also being attacked. And one specific participant who do not in open online spaces say that she is a transgender was asked questions such as, are you one of them? Because she posted things that were friendly to the transgender community. And also there have been instances in Sri Lanka where things that are happening in offline spaces have gone into online spaces, like transphobic things that are happening in offline spaces have gone into online spaces and have gotten an amplified or a wider audience because they have been posted in online spaces, and thus the online transphobia has grown. So these are things that the participants of the study indicated on amplifying online transphobia. And to the second objective, to see what are the psychosocial consequences of this, the main thing that all participants expressed was fear and self-isolation. So there were participants who are still ongoing of their trans process and who have not completed their surgeries and who's going through the medical transition still, and who they actually expressed their concern saying, I'm scared that I won't be able to complete my trans process because most of the medication and hormones and things like this come from the global north, and even though we are in the global south, we are dependent, the transgender community is still dependent very much on the funding that is coming from the global north, and therefore they are in fear. And secondly, there was a lot of self-isolation because, as I have mentioned here, one transgender individual who was a participant of this study said that they no longer take public transport just because they are afraid that people are looking at them and or mocking them or making fun of them. So even though the transphobia is in the online spaces and they have not really experienced anything in the physical space, their fear has led them to isolate themselves not only in the online space but also in the offline space. And secondly, they also expressed worry for this health deterioration, as I explained earlier. And one participant specifically stated that even the strongest person has a breaking point. So, which was a good expression brought out by one of the participants, which actually says that these transgender individuals are prone to depression and anxiety, and most of them have encountered suicidal thoughts, and therefore even the strongest person can have a breaking point. So there, like this online transphobia has a very great psychosocial impact. So the final finding is on coping mechanisms. So different people express different coping mechanisms. The first was having offline support networks like family and friends, and most of the participants explained that how what a great support they have with family and friends. And secondly, strategic online engagement. Most of the people have started unfriending or unfollowing people who post transphobic comments purely for their mental sanity. And the final one is that as a coping mechanism, what the participants explained was mental self-care practices such as going to the gym, watching movies, and things like that. So in my discussion, I have used the theoretical framework of using three theories, actually. The first one was Mayer's theory of minority stress, which explains because this community is a minority, how they experience greater stress and anxiety and depression because of what the majority is thinking and feeling. And also the theory of culminative trauma, which also goes with the polyvictimization theory, which says that people who have been traumatized in multiple aspects or in multiple scenarios have a greater psychological distress, which clearly shows in the findings of this study because they have been they have been
Please
traumatic.
wrap up soon. We have to.
Yes, there have been traumatic experiences in offline spaces, so they have this is multiple traumatic experience for them. And the final one is the theory of silence, spiral of silence, and this goes with the self isolation that I expressed earlier, because these people see what the majority is saying about them. These people go into silencing themselves. So those are the references of my study, and thank you.
Thank you, Namya, for your insightful presentation on how transphobic rhetoric and policies in the US shape online discourse and digital discrimination against trans individuals. Moving on to the last presentation of this session, I would like to invite Mohammad Sajid Ali, PhD scholar at Jamia Millia Islamia, to present his paper, Gender Justice in the Digital Age, How Online Activism Drives Policy Reforms in India.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So my presentation topic is gender justice in digital age, how online activism drives policy reforms in India. Uh, Gender justice refers to the systematic efforts to ensure equal rights, opportunity, and protection for all genders by dismantling discriminatory practices. In the digital ages, this concept extended to the online realm, where social media platforms, digital campaigns, and virtual communities have become powerful tools for advocacy, awareness, and legal reforms. The digital space has redefined activism, offering marginalized groups, particularly women, a platform to challenge oppressive norms, amplify their voices, and mobilize for change. This online activism have brought issues such as harassment, violence, and workplace inequality into mainstream discourse, demanding institutional accountability and legal reforms. So why we need this? We need gender justice in the digital ages because of the internet has become a powerful space where social norms and challenge marginalized voices are amplified and systematic injustice are exposed. Online activism play a crucial role in addressing gender inequality by raising awareness, mobilizing public opinion, and pushing for the legal reforms. In India, movements like #MeToo in India and Pinchra Tod had spotlight issues such as harassment, violence, and workplace discrimination, promoting policy intervention and improved protection framework. As digital platforms continue to influence societal discourse, ensuring gender justice online is vital to creating safer spaces, empowering vulnerable groups, and driving meaningful policy reforms. So, in this presentation, I have covered four theoretical framework. First is feminist standpoint theory. Second is intersectional theory. Third is network feminism and feminism theory. And the last one is agenda setting theory. The impact of online activism. So it has mobilized public opinion, strengthened legal framework, enhanced digital literacy campaigns, improved platform accountability. And what are the positive trends has been shown by these digital reforms? Safer online spaces, empowered of marginalized groups, stronger legal accountability for digital platforms. So, what are the basic challenges for this digital challenge when we talk about the digital activism? So, this leads to the online harassment and trolling, digital divide limiting rural participation, mainstreaming campaigns threatening digital democracy.
Sajid, are you done with your presentation?
No, 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 no. Just wait a second. I think this is a technical glitch. Yeah, so what are the policy reforms that the government has taken? So first is the very famous the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013. Second, the C-Box Portal 2018 that is related to workplace mm, amendments. IT Rules 2001 that Anti-Cyberbullying Initiative, Digital Sakti 4 that is 2023. So these are some policy intervention this government has taken that is Information Technology Act 2000 in the section 66, 67 and 67A has provided the remedies to the victims. The second is IPC Act 354D, National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal, Digital India Campaign, Cyber Swachhata Kendra, Online Safety Initiative by NCW. Some state level interventions are this Maharashtra Cyber Safe Women Campaign, Telangana Women Safety Wing, Kerala का है Pink Police Patrol, West Bengal का स्वयं सिद्धा Initiative, and Delhi Cyber Crime Awareness Campaign. So the conclusion of this is why we need a policy intervention. So we are living in AI and deep. In the digital age, one post is spark a movement, and one movement can change the law. By combining digital activism and grassroots advocacy, we can ensure meaningful gender justice, divide gender justice in India, amplifying marginalized voices, and pressurizing policy makers to a campaign like Me Too, Binjra and Justice for Manisha have influenced key reforms such as Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013 and CBOX portal. So, a single voice online can ignite a movement, and a movement can change the world. Thank you. This was my presentation.
Thank you, Sajid. We appreciate your valuable insights. And I want to extend my thanks to everyone who is presenting today. for their valuable research, their perspective and expertise on the topic. I would like to invite our rapporteur for the session, Anurag and Shubhangi, to take over the Q&A session and deliver vote of thanks at the end of this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Raksanda. So it was very enlightening session, and many people have put many questions. I too have few questions, but first those people who have put questions in our chat box, and some were replied by I think by present. IUC have replied few, but but first question to Sonalika. Sonalika, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Sonalika, so the question is, many women who do not fit people's idea of what female athletes should look like are ridiculed, harassed, and as we saw what happened to main Khalif, I think her gender was, I'm sorry if my pronunciation is not right. Her gender was questioned. Celebrities like J.K. Rowling called her a man, with demands like having a separate category for masculine presenting women. What do you think about that? It's, I think, Olympic.
Yes. So Imani Khalif, she competed in the boxing event, and she has mentioned on her passport that she's a cis woman. However, in this matter, I would like to tell a few things that there are two different organizations. One is International Olympic Committee, the other one is International Boxing Committee, and these two organizations have their different set of rules. So Imani Khalif, she was allowed to participate in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, and there was no testing prior to their competitions. When she appeared for her competition, after her appearance, it was mentioned that the International Boxing Committee had earlier disqualified her from previous events, citing reasons that she was actually not a woman. She was competing in women's events, but she was not a woman, and she underwent some sort of operations, some sort of therapies to compete in women's sports. So I believe that this area still needs to be studied, as there are many discrepancies among the rules of various organizations. The IOC states some different rules, and the IBC, it states some different rules. However, I am a sports person myself, and I would like to add a point over here that I think that sports definitely, for athletes, they should be competing on their biological sex rather than their gender. Gender is something that they can define themselves by any gender. But when we talk about the realm of sports, there are definitely uh, physical advantages to males when they compete in female sports. I don't know if anyone is aware of a person who goes by the name Leah Thomas. So Leah Thomas, currently she competes in the female swimmers category in the US national teams, but she was born a male. She underwent therapies, and when she competed in female sports, when she was competing in male sports, she had a ranking of 362, if I'm not wrong, world ranking 362. But when she competed in female sports, she excelled in all the competitions, and she actually won a lot of competitions. I believe that no matter if you undergo some sort of therapies, you still have that physical advantage when you are facing some woman, facing a female in front of you, because you cannot change the build, the structure of your body. You can change the hormones, you can change other things, but you cannot change the actual physical structure of your body. So but this realm definitely needs to be studied more, and the rules and regulations, they need to be regulated.
Sonalika, we have another question from Tanvi to you, that do algorithms on social media platforms contribute to the unequal visibility of female athletes compared to male athletes?
Yes, I believe that algorithms and social media platforms can contribute to the unequal visibility of female athletes as compared to male athletes. If we talk of social media platforms, they often prioritize content that generates more engagement, likes, more shares, more comments. And it has been seen that historically, male athletes, especially in popular sports like football and basketball, they've garnered more attention and engagement than their female counterparts. And in the stereotypical content, sports content which is related to male athletes, it often receives more engagement. And female athletes are underrepresented, especially in traditional and mainstream sports. And I also believe that the media outlets and brands, which definitely have a substantial impact on algorithmic promotion, they also focus more on male dominated sports. I believe that this can lead to algorithms which can amplify content related to male athletes due to the broader presence on the platform. So, yeah, that's what I think about it. That they definitely contribute a lot in the unequal visibility of female athletes.
Sonalika, we have another question from our another presenter from Chavi. And that how do you think that social media platforms can break the social norms of gender inequality when in fact in fact seen in recent times has only seemed to build that wall higher?
Okay, so social media, it's a diverse place, and social media platforms, they can play a crucial role in breaking the social norms of gender inequality. I think that social media algorithms can be modified to prioritize content from female athletes, uh, ensuring that they receive more visibility. Algorithms, they should not solely work to favor the male athletes, but they should try to prioritize the content which also features the female athletes. I think that platforms like Google, Instagram, they have a far wider audience reach, and they can celebrate the accomplishments of female athletes. They can celebrate the milestones, the records, their personal stories, because these platforms, they have a greater audience reach, and when people see the stories of female sports persons, they actually understand that what challenges and what problems they have faced to to make their career. And I think that equal media coverage should also be given to the female athletes, and fans, supporters, and athletes, they should also try to interact more and watch the female sports persons more, and they should also give more attention um to female teams of the same sports. If we take the case of India, uh, today is the final match of India and New Zealand Champions Trophy, as we all know, and the men's team are competing. And yesterday, I was watching a news channel where I had seen that people are praying for the Indian team to win in today's match, and they are actually celebrating that their team is in the final. But when I see that when the same cricket matches of female teams are played, uh, people are accepting the fact that females have also entered this arena, but still the same amount of exposure, the same amount of interest is still lacking in the case of female sports. And I think that fans and supporters do play a big role in breaking the gender inequalities in case of female athletes.
Sonalika, just last question from one of our research scholar, Mini, to you, that what do you think of Trump's decision on having hegemonic or a binary way looking at the inclusion in sports? Do you think that it's something that's an advantage
I'm
or a
sorry,
gap?
your
I think
voice is not
you.
audible to me at all.
Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, Anurag,
Hello.
you're audible.
Yeah. So you have another question from our research scholar, that what do you think of Trump's decision on having hegemonic or a binary way of looking at inclusion in sports? I think you have given your point of view that you support that. Men shouldn't compete with at
So
women's
personally,
sports.
I do believe that I'm a sports person myself. And if I talk about myself, if I am being asked to fight with a boy, with a male, I practice fencing basically. I know that the person I'm competing with definitely has a higher advantage, muscular body built up, the more stronger grip, and more agility than a female. So I believe that in the case of transgenders, I really support the idea that they should definitely venture in the sports, but I think there should be a different category for those people.
Okay, thank you, Sonalika. I think sorry. Uh, Chavi, do you have a question? You have raised your hand.
Yes, actually, the question that I asked, I want to counter question that if Sonalika is okay with it.
We can counter. You can counter question, but let's finish a few questions which have been asked already.
Sure, sure.
So I think this is question to you only. That Chavi, that a big criticism of BL is the risk of fetishization. Is it a collateral damage that we must bear for a greater good of representation and visibility?
Actually, I love this question. Not many people realize that this question is one of the main reasons I wrote this paper. Uh, Actually, I do agree. Like, if this question was asked to me in 2019, I would have absolutely agreed that it is actually a collateral damage we need to pay for the present representation of LGBTQIA plus. But and since the mass production has been increasing day by day in Thai BL community specifically, I won't go to other communities. But as my paper was on Thai, I would like to focus on that. Uh, I do think that in the recent times, it is not a collateral damage anymore, because even though they idealize the whole thing, they romanticize the whole structure of BL representation. I do believe that it's an escapist way to represent of what BL life could have been if they were represented persistently, if they were received the way they are supposed to. But I don't think that it's a collateral damage anymore. Yes, it was, because no there was like nil representation till 2019. But since the world has increased, since the COVID-19 came, since the people have been more accepting, it has been changed. So I don't think we should see it as a collateral damage anymore. I do believe that the risk of fetishization is there, but it's not a collateral damage anymore. It's a part of a plan to represent the whole community and not just a gay male relationship, particularly on particularly based on, let's say, particularly based on a seen youth relationship. Or I'll be very honest, even though the heteronormative perspectives are there, they were there till 2021. But since there are a lot of beers that restrict that convention and bring a newer perspective to it.
Thank you, Chavi. Ayushi, do you have a question? You have raised your hand.
Yes, thank you so much. So I have a question to Sajid. I've already typed in the chat box as well, but I'll just shorten it up and ask.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Sajid, you were talking about digital justice, which was very interesting to look at. But I just wanted to ask your perspective on if we if how can AI help in the implementation of these laws to ensure digital justice in the Indian context? And also, do you think that if we take these cases related to digital justice to, let's say, fast track courts, would justice be delivered faster? Because, the higher courts are already loaded with a number of cases. So what do you think about this? Thank you.
Yes, Ayushi, that your question is how can AI help to combat these type of. We know that India has a vast cases of these harassment or these this something. So what AI can do? AI can do a make a legal management. AI can create a database. AI can uh, put the case a automatic routine, or AI can provide the legal justice to the legal justice management to the marginalized communities. So AI can improve the judiciary system in India. So this is my answer, and I believe this.
Thank you so much, Sajid.
I think I see you have got your answer. I have a question to Janvi and Prarthana. Are you there? Janvi?
Janvi is there.
Okay. So I see I have a question to you as well, if you are there. Yeah. So my question is, you have shown data that how means women are not represented means so how many countries you have considered, or you have only taken data from India only as well? And as you mentioned that there is a cultural difference. So for cultural perspective, so for example, if you are talking about African countries, there is a different culture. So there is a different means percentage of women in STEM. So India in different. So how you identified those social factors?
Thank you so much, Anurag, for your question. I think that when I started to write this paper, of course, I could not consider the data from all the countries, because for that, a more in-depth research would be required. What I did essentially was I first looked at what is the general, consideration when it comes to STEM. And yes, like you said, when we talk about representation, every culture will have a different representation, and every culture will also have a different bias that they will have for the representation. So what I essentially did was I looked at the global reports, because when organizations like UNICEF or the ILO, what they do is they look at all the countries and then they prepare their statistics, which are quite, and they take different parameters of judgment. So that is what I did. And I also feel that in the Indian context, yes, in the recent years, a lot of progress has been made. Like I think Sajid rightly pointed out that, the recent survey which came, it hints at 55%, improvement. But then again, are we exactly looking at women from all the walks of society? Are we looking at women from, remote areas, rural areas? What about that? So more policy implementation should be there. And yes, culturally, it will always be different. So for that, I would definitely look at other countries as well. But thank you for your observation and thank you for your question.
Sorry. Raksanda, thank you, Ayushi. Raksanda, do you have a question?
Yes, Anurag, I have a question for Namya. Namya, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question for you. What distinguishes transphobia in online spaces from other forms of digital gender-based violence, particularly in South Asian context? Can you tell me?
Yeah. So I think when you take online gender-based violence, there are a lot of forms of online gender-based violence, and transphobia. The issue in transphobia is that most of the scholars and even the legal system still does not consider transphobia to be a form of online gender-based violence, because it goes under expressing your opinion. rather than actually targeting anyone, or like if you take, for example, non-consensual intimate image sharing, there is a direct harm by that action on some other person. However, when you take transphobia, it's very difficult to draw that line of saying whether that's purely expression of your opinion, which a person clearly has a right to do, and or whether that really is a criminal, or that whether that's an offense. So that's the distinction between transphobia and other forms of online gender-based violence. And also because transphobia is can purely be argued to be expressing one's opinion, it's very hard to actually consider it under the scope of online gender-based violence. And therefore, the research also is very low to see the psychosocial impacts of it, because it doesn't go under online gender-based violence. Because of that only, I actually thought of doing this research, because transphobia, like the general norm of democracy, or like expressing one's right, is that it cannot hinder somebody else's right. But however, if transphobic rhetorics or like comments are still expressing your own opinion, it's very hard to argue that I get, like, even though I get offended by somebody else's comment, that's not still illegal, but it still has a psychological impact on the people that it's targeted on. So that's why I thought of doing that.
Thank you, Namya. We have many questions, but still we have to finish on time. So I'm giving mic to my colleague, my research fellow, Subhangi. You can take from here.
Yeah, I'll just give the formal vote of thanks. So it's an honor to extend the vote of thanks for this enriching session on behalf of the Sarojini Naidu Centre for Women's Studies. Sorry. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our chair, Rakshanda Nawaz, for guiding the session with such depth and engagement. I also extend my appreciation to my fellow rapporteur, Anurag, for moderating the Q&A session so smoothly. A special thanks to all our presenters for their thought-provoking research and critical insights on topics ranging from femtech, women athletes, women in STEM fields, from transphobia to queerphobia and digital gender justice. Thank you. Your work enriches our understanding of these urgent issues. And lastly, we are so grateful to the participants for your time, enthusiasm, and engagement. Thank you. We'll be moving to the next session now.